Good evening and welcome to Ghana TV9 News, broadcasting live on television and streaming across all our social media platforms. I am Madana Dorek with your top stories for Tuesday, July 21, 2026. In the headlines tonight, President Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali declares 3 days of national mourning following MV BARIMA tragedy. No waiting until grade 6. Government begins 2027 NGSA preparation as schools reopen. CCTV review confirms 179 aboard MV BARIMA prior to CAPSIZE tragedy. Opposition MP SHEROD DUNCAN detained by police in Region 2. 41 bodies recovered as search expands, 77 survivors accounted for, and government takes on funeral arrangements for MV BARIMA victims. Now for the news in depth. In an official proclamation issued today, President Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali declared Wednesday, July 22nd through Friday, July 24th, 2026, as a period of national mourning across Guyana. The declaration honors the victims of the disaster and signals national solidarity with grieving families, survivors, and affected communities. Our reporter has these details. In a proclamation issued on Tuesday, July 21, 2026, President Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali declared Wednesday, July 22nd, Thursday, July 23rd, and Friday, July 24th, as a period of national mourning across Guyana. The declaration comes as the nation mourns the victims of the disaster and stands in solidarity with grieving families, survivors, and communities directly affected by the tragedy. During the period of mourning, all national flags of Ghana are to be flown at half-mast on government buildings, public institutions, and other appropriate locations throughout the country as a mark of respect and remembrance for those who lost their lives. Wednesday, July 22nd has been declared a national day of prayer and remembrance. Guyanese of all faiths and communities are being called upon to unite in prayer, reflection, and remembrance for all the victims, while offering comfort and support to their families who are mourning, their survivors, and all those affected by the tragedy. A national day of prayer and remembrance will also be held at the Kingston Seawall in Georgetown, bringing together religious leaders, victims' families, survivors, community representatives, and citizens from across the country. The period of national mourning will continue with a night of reflection and prayer in Port Kaituma on Thursday, July 23rd. Residents of Port Kaituma and neighboring communities are being encouraged to gather in remembrance of those who have been lost, to comfort one another, and to pray for everyone impacted by the national tragedy. On Friday, July 24th, a night of reflection and prayer will be observed in MOURNING, with residents of the wider Northwest District invited to participate in remembrance, prayer, and reflection. The president also has encouraged churches, mosques, temples, other places of worship, civic organizations, and citizens across Ghana to host candlelight gatherings during the mourning period as symbols of remembrance, unity, and solidarity. The declaration follows the tragic MV BARIMA disaster, which has plunged Ghana into profound grief and sparked an ongoing search, recovery, and investigation operation, with families continuing to await news of loved ones and communities mourning those who have been confirmed dead. The 3-day national mourning period provides an opportunity for the country to collectively grieve, remember the victims, support affected families, and pray for healing and strength as Ghana comes to terms with one of the nation's most devastating maritime tragedies. Adana Dorek, Ghana TV9 News. CCTV recordings from the Georgetown court where the MV BARIMA was ordered has confirmed that 179 persons entered the vessel before it departed for Port Kaituma, Region 1, BARIMA, Waini. The investigative team determined that those aboard included 81 males, 37 females, 43 children, and 18 crew members. Here's more.
The footage has helped authorities reconcile passenger information and confirm the identities of everyone who was on board at the time of the tragedy. The MV BARIMA departed Georgetown shortly after 3 p.m. on Saturday, July 18, 2026, bound for Port Kaituma. At approximately 11:01 p.m., a distress call was received after the vessel encountered difficulties in CAPSIZE, triggering an immediate large-scale search and rescue operation. As of 6 p.m. on Tuesday, 71 persons had been rescued and 41 bodies recovered. The Search and Rescue Coordination Center continues to oversee the operation, with with the Guyana Defense Force Coast Guard serving as the lead operational agency. The response effort involves the joint services, emergency and medical personnel, regional officials, private vessel operators, fisher folk, community members, volunteer, civil society, the private sector, and international partners. The government has also stated its handling of the investigation, highlighting what it described as the swift release of critical information. Officials said blood samples were taken from the captain and another crew member shortly after the incident, and both tested positive for cannabis. The results were made public immediately, followed by the arrest of the individuals involved. Authorities further stated that once investigators discovered more people had boarded the vessel than were recorded on the official passenger manifest, that information was promptly shared with the public. Officials said these actions reflected the government's commitment to transparency and accountability throughout the investigation. Members of the public are being urged to exercise caution when sharing videos and photographs circulating on social media, as some material may be old, fabricated, or unrelated to the tragedy. Many passengers lost their mobile phones during the sinking, making it difficult to immediately verify images and footage claimed to have been taken aboard the vessel. President Dr. Mohamed Irfanali has assured the nation that every available resource will continue to support the search, while a full, thorough, and independent investigation will be conducted to determine what happened and whether any failures contributed to the tragedy. Melanie Morris, Guyana TV9 News.
Even before students return to classroom in September, the Ministry of Education is already laying the groundwork for the 2027 National Grade 6 Assessment, NGSA. Fresh off this year's record-breaking examination results, Education Minister Honorable Sonia Parag says planning has already begun to ensure the next cohort of pupils benefits from stronger academic support from the very start of the school year. Details in this report.
Minister Parag said education officials have wasted no time reviewing this year's successes and identifying the strategies that deliver the strongest results. Rather than waiting until grade 6, the ministry has begun mapping out interventions that will be introduced as soon as schools reopen, with a particular focus on mathematics and literacy. Among the first initiatives to return will be the ministry's MAP stints, which Minister Parag credited as one of the major contributors to improved mathematics performance in this year's NGSA. The program brings students from several schools together for additional mathematics instruction while providing teachers with targeted professional support to strengthen classroom delivery.
So rather than wait for school to open in September, let's talk about it now. Let's strategize for it now. And so we are using those things that we believe would have gotten us to the point of having these results in 2026 and starting them earlier. So yes, you will see from the time school rolls out that we're going to be doing the math stints, and we're going to be working along with the teachers.
The ministry also plans to expand literacy and numeracy assessments to identify learning gaps much earlier in a child's education. According to the education minister, the assessments will allow educators to diagnose weaknesses, group students according to their needs, and provide targeted interventions before they reach the critical examination years. She stressed that the long-term objective is to teach students to understand concepts rather than simply prepare them to answer exam questions. Technology will also play a greater role in the ministry's strategy. The minister said Guyana's digital school will be expanded to provide students across the country with easier access to lessons, past papers, and additional learning resources. Combined with continued teacher training in mathematics and other core subjects, the initiative is expected to strengthen classroom instruction nationwide over the coming years.
And so I would say in another 3-4 years, we will be seeing the results of this and the successes of these measures that are being put in place. So numeracy and literacy will contribute, I think, heavily to that once we can be able to use it as a diagnostic tool or measure, so that we can work with those in a more targeted way, which would be the grouping these children together and working with them separately, perhaps in the classroom or after the school hours.
Minister Parag said the government's long-term vision is to build a stronger educational foundation by improving literacy, numeracy, and teacher capacity from the earliest grades. While celebrating this year's historic NGSA results, the minister maintained that sustained investment and early intervention, not last-minute exam preparation, will be the key to producing even stronger performances in the year ahead. Randy Morris, Guyana TV9 News.
Opposition Member of Parliament SHEROD DUNCAN was taken into police custody in Charity Region 2 on Tuesday while visiting families affected by the MV BARIMA tragedy. Up to the time of reporting, police had to not disclose the reason for his detention. Duncan had traveled to the region alongside other opposition parliamentarians to meet with grieving relatives and observe developments related to the ferry disaster when law enforcement officers detained him. According to reports, police also took possession of Duncan's drone, camera, and other equipment during the incident. However, the Guyana Police Force has not released an official statement explaining the circumstances surrounding the seizure. It remains unclear what led to Duncan's detention, whether the equipment was confiscated as part of an investigation or if he is suspected of committing any offense. More news after the break. Stay with us.
GCOM is conducting a claims and objections exercise commencing July 1, 2026 to produce an official list of electors, OLE. If you were 18 years or older on June 30, 2026 and you're a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent, or naturalization, or a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more, you are eligible for inclusion in the OLE. GCOM has posted the preliminary list of electors, PLE, in all registration divisions across Guyana for you to check whether you are listed, and if so, whether your particulars are accurate. You can object to anyone whom you believe does not qualify for inclusion in the OLE. To do so, you must be listed in the same divisional list as the person you are objecting to. You must visit the GCOM registration office responsible for your area of residence to make an objection. The objections aspect of this exercise will end on Friday, July 17, 2026. For more information, contact the GCOM on 225-0278-9 or visit www.gcom.org.gy.
I know you have work to do, but come, I just need a minute of your time. It won't even take that long. So, I have a proposal. We could do besties in Punta Cana. Really need a getaway. And not to worry, I went to Sunita Travel Agency and they recommended a few hotels that do all-inclusive stays. And they're very affordable. The vibes. Let me tell you something. We do not want to miss a trip to Punta Cana. Why? Ziplining. No, I know this is not your vibe, but please, listen. Hold on. Wait. I know you like throw it back. There's a boat party. We could go there. And then there's this thing called buggy adventure. Some buggy something. I don't know, but I want to be a buggy or whatever it is. I just want to be a part of it. And then we got snorkeling. Oh, this thing is so ugly. Please, you be next to uglier things than this. Stop it. Trust me, you're going to love it. It'll be just you and me, Punta Cana, drinks, just having the time of our life. Not to worry. We've got many flight options, and they made sure that they went through it with me. The prices are affordable. Trust me, I know you like thinking about the budget or whatever. Remember the time when we went and we missed the flight? Yeah, when we booked with Sunita Travel Agency, even if it happens, with slim chance, they'll know what to do and we won't be stranded like we did the last time. This solid plan. You, me, Punta Cana. Cheap. It won't even hurt your pocket. Please say yes. Yes.
Welcome back. You're watching the Guyana TV9 News Bulletin. Vice President Barra Jagdeo opened the first day of the National Officials Council NTC Conference 2026 on a somber note, telling Amerindian leaders that the gathering was taking place under the shadow of what he described as a national tragedy. Before turning to development issues, he expressed sympathy to the families affected by the ferry disaster and assured village leaders that the government's search and rescue operation will continue.
The Vice President stated that a joint task force involving MARAD, the Guyana Police Force, and the Guyana Defense Force has launched an extensive probe, including reviewing surveillance footage, interviewing survivors and crew members, and identifying everyone who was on board.
This year, we're meeting at a peculiar and sad moment. We're in the middle of what I consider a national tragedy. As all of you are aware, 2 nights ago, we got a distress call from the ferry that was on its way to Port Kaituma. And a number of people also managed to send voice notes that the ferry was sinking.
Despite the tragedy, the vice president said the government decided the conference must continue because village leaders traveled from across Guyana to discuss development priorities. He noted that Tushaos from the hardest hit communities who returned home would not be disadvantaged, promising separate consultations to ensure their concerns are addressed after the conference. Turning to national development, the vice president argued that Guyana has undergone a remarkable transformation over the past 2 decades, moving from one of the world's poorest and most indebted countries to what he described as one of the healthiest economies globally. He credited long-term planning for the country's progress while defending the government's management of the economy in recent electoral mandate. Addressing Amerindian development, the vice president highlighted the Low Carbon Development Strategy, LCDS, saying that more than $14 billion has been channeled directly to indigenous villages, resulting in over 3,000 community-led projects. He praised village leaders for completing projects efficiently, arguing they have outperformed international agencies in managing development funds.
And you've been able, in 3 years, to get about over $14 billion from the LCDS. $14 billion. And you have used the money, and you have used it in an accountable way based on the wishes of your community, and you've implemented the projects. If we had given the external agencies, it would take 100 years to do what you, the people, and leadership of these villages have done in 3 short years.
Vice President Jagdeo also pointed to major investments in education, healthcare, and employment, noting that university education and online scholarships are now fully funded by the government. He said the administration's next focus includes expanding employment opportunities in hinterland communities and supporting housing construction and home improvement programs, promising continued collaboration with Tushaos to improve the lives of residents throughout Guyana. More than 200 Tushaos from indigenous communities across Guyana have gathered in Georgetown for the National Tushaos Council Conference 2026, where they will engage government officials on critical issues affecting their villages.
The MV BARIMA tragedy has now claimed 41 lives as search and recovery teams continue operations offshore. 14 bodies were recovered within hours today, while authorities have expanded the search zone by another 400 square miles in a desperate effort to locate those still missing. Here's more.
As of Tuesday afternoon, the death toll in the MV BARIMA tragedy had risen to 41 as search and recovery teams continued a race against time to locate those still missing following Saturday night's deadly maritime disaster. According to the latest update from the Maritime Rescue Coordination Center, issued at 1 p.m. on Tuesday, July 21st, 2026, a total of 77 persons had been rescued, while 41 bodies had been recovered. Recovery efforts intensified, with the first body recovered at 10:15 a.m. on Tuesday and 14 bodies retrieved by 1 p.m. as teams continued operations around the wreckage site. The search area has now been expanded by an additional 400 square miles, stretching as far as Winey Point, as authorities seek to maximize the chances of finding any remaining passengers. A total of 16 vessels are currently deployed in the wreckage zone, while French and Guyanese divers continue underwater recovery operations around the sunken vessel. The identification process of recovered bodies is ongoing at Suddy Hospital, where relatives are being asked to assist authorities in confirming the identities of their loved ones. The MV BARIMA was traveling from Georgetown to Port Kaituma when it capsized offshore late Saturday night. Authorities later indicated that the number of people believed to have been on board was higher than the initial manifest suggested, with officials estimating 179 people were aboard the vessel. The tragedy has triggered a massive national response, with questions now surrounding passenger records, safety procedures, and the circumstances that led to the vessel sinking. Authorities have said that a full investigation will be conducted.
Police are investigating an alleged $2.61 million firearm license scam involving two brothers from Best Plantation, West Coast, Demerara. The victims, a 35-year-old contractor and his 30-year-old brother, reportedly paid a 40-year-old Eccles man who claimed he could secure firearm license for them. The documents they later received were found to be fraudulent. Police are now searching for the suspect and another person linked to the matter. The government of Ghana will cover the costs of funeral arrangements for victims of the MV BARIMA tragedy, Prime Minister Brigadier Retired Mark Phillips announced, as authorities continue efforts to recover the deceased and support grieving families. Prime Minister Brigadier Retired Mark Phillips said the assistance will include transporting the bodies of victims to their home communities and ensuring families are able to carry out religious sites in accordance with their wishes. Speaking during a press conference, the Prime Minister said the government's immediate priority remains the ongoing search and rescue operation. However, he noted that attention is also being given to ensuring those who lost their lives are treated with dignity and that their loved ones receive the support needed during this difficult time.
Efforts to recover their bodies and have them positively identified, and working with their families and their communities to bring closure, which will include transportation in keeping with the wishes of the family of the dead to their communities for interment, in keeping with whatever rights they request. In terms of religious services, etc.
He described the recovery and identification process as a delicate operation requiring sensitivity and cooperation among all agencies involved. Prime Minister Phillips said the government would remain engaged with families throughout the process and would not leave them to manage the situation alone.
We, however, remain focused on our efforts to rescue people who were to be rescued, and unfortunately those who would have passed, to recover their bodies and respectfully work with their families to bring closure.
Prime Minister Phillips also disclosed that the Ministry of Health and the Ghana Police Force, GDF, have established joint protocols for identifying, transporting, and storing the deceased. Relatives will be invited to formally identify their loved ones before the remains are released for funeral arrangements. The numbers of people believed to have been on board the vessel was also revised from 133 to 179, including 161 passengers and 18 crew members. Adana Dorek, Ghana TV9 News. More news after the break. Stay with us.
Want to place your death announcements and in memoriam messages on Channel 9? Call 592-761-5006, 710-5008, 600-5006. Or visit our office at Lot 85A Lamaha Street, Albertown, Georgetown, Century 21 Building.
Guyana Channel 9 is now Guy TV9, proudly under new management. We're building stronger with a balanced and open platform for all advertisers. Whether you're promoting a business, service, or event, your message belongs right here. So choose your spot, news, prime time, or anytime, and reach viewers across Guyana. With affordable rates and professional service, Guy TV9 is your partner in progress. So visit us at Lot 21A, Lamaha Street, Georgetown, in the Century 21 building, or call 600-5006 or 761-5006. Guyana TV9. New leadership, fresh outlook, real results.
Welcome back. You're watching the Guyana TV9 News Bulletin. Now for our regional news update. A St. Vincent woman is calling for stronger mental health care after her 70-year-old brother Patrick Roberts was nearly killed in a brutal chopping attack in Berlowie on Saturday. Roberts remains hospitalized with serious injuries after he was repeatedly attacked while walking through the town. His sister, Weena Roberts, said the family is awaiting the outcome of the police investigation, but is urging authorities to improve care and supervision for people with severe mental illness to help prevent similar incidents. No arrests have been announced up to the time of publication. A deadly 12-hour shooting surge left 5 people dead in Trinidad. Masked gunmen killed 2 targets and a bystander at Laventille gas station. In response, Trinidad and Tobago police launched emergency raids today. Officers seized a hidden SIG pistol in Canopia and arrested an armed suspect in 5 Rivers today. The UN-backed multinational force launched a major offensive in Port-au-Prince this morning. Armored patrols successfully cleared mortified barricades and seized weapons stockpiles in Taber this morning. Regional leaders are deploying cross-border assets, tracking to choke criminal financing this afternoon. Monitors warn troops must remain stationed to prevent immediate gang retaliation. Turning now to international news. Economic shockwaves are rattling North American markets today. The U.S. has officially imposed a crippling 50% tariff on $20 billion of Canadian dairy, alcohol, and automotive exports. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney fired back, stating his administration is reviewing all retaliatory options. Analysts warn consumers will face immediate price hikes on both sides of the border. An urgent health emergency is unfolding in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The World Health Organization issued a stark warning as the Ebola death toll rapidly reached 930 fatalities. With over 2,300 active cases, officials estimate the contagion is outpacing international medical defenses. 8 agencies are calling for immediate global funding to contain the outbreak. Democracy has been dealt a crushing blow in Central America. Authoritarian President Daniel Ortega declared that Nicaragua will no longer host democratic elections moving forward. The sweeping mandate permanently freezes out all opposition parties, cementing the ruling regime's absolute control. Human rights groups are fiercely condemning the move, warning of a permanent dictatorship. And those were the stories making the news tonight. Keep the conversation going online. Follow us on Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube at GUI TV9. I'm Madonna Dor. Thank you for tuning in and have a safe evening.